So the name of this graph that we're now going to see is called a parabola. So this is the graph of a quadratic function. And as we're graphing these, parabolas can either open up, where it's cupped up, the open side is up, or it can cup down, be open downward. So the open side of the parabola here is opened downward. So opens down and opens up. And we also have two new pieces of definitions to look at for these types of graphs that we didn't have for linear graphs. So we also have, since we have a parabola here that comes down and then it turns around, this turnaround point here is called a vertex. And we also have, if it's increasing, going uphill and then again makes a turnaround, again we have this turnaround point here, which is also our vertex. Okay, so here we've got it's either a maximum point when it opens down or this minimum point when it opens up. But either way, it's that turnaround point in the graph, okay, which a line doesn't have. So we didn't have a vertex when we looked at our linear functions. Okay, the other thing that we have is this axis of symmetry. We have where we can fold up a parabola along this line, okay, which is a vertical line, so its equation is going to be x equal to some particular number. And so again, we can see we can fold it up and get mirror images left to right of that particular line, and that line runs right through that vertex point. Okay, so it's going to be a vertical line that passes through the vertex of that parabola. All right, so these last couple problems, just looking at how to read inputs and outputs given a function in graph form or in table form. So the first one we're asked to explain how you can tell by looking at the graph that this graph represents a function of x. Okay, so again, this graph, if we think about putting in vertical line anywhere, so any one of these vertical lines would cross our parabola exactly once. So our graph passes the vertical line test. But now I've really messed up my graph to try to see other stuff, so let's erase all that stuff we just scribbled on there. So now we're asked to find f of 4. So function notation inside the parentheses is the input, and we're being asked to find the output. Okay. So for an input of 4, our output is 3. We've got this point here at 4, 3. And here again, 2 is inside the parentheses, so we're looking for an input, and we want to know what the output is on the curve. So if we input 2, okay, we're not going down because our graph's not there, but if we go to the right 2 and go up, right here we hit the curve at the point 2, 5. So for an input of 2, the output is 5. Okay, but now D is a little backwards because now we're given the output and we want to know what input corresponds to that. So now we want to look at -3 on the y-axis and look to the left and to the right and see if there's any points on the graph, and we get 2. Okay, we've got one at -2, 3 and another one at 6, 3. Okay, so in the homework they put like an x here, and then off to the side they've got x equals in a box for the answer. And in here x could either be -2 or x could be 6. Right, then we're asked for the y-intercept of the graph. So the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So here's our y-axis, and our graph crosses right here at the point 0, 3. And the last piece, we want that turnaround point on the parabola. So as we're tracing out our curve, we're going up, 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 up. We hit the top, and then we turn around and come back down. So that turnaround point happens at the point 2, 5. So now let's look at some problems in the same way, only looking at a table. So explain how you can tell by looking at the table that this represents a function of x. Okay, so for a function, each input has to have a unique output. So 0, input of 0 gives us an output of 19. 1 gives us an output of 9, and so on. Now we see that we've got a couple places in here where the outputs are the same, which is fine, because again they came, so this, when we ask x, when we ask 2 what his favorite number is, he says 3. Okay? But when we ask 5 what his favorite number is, when we ask 4 what his favorite number is, he also says 3. And that's fine. It's just like when we ask people their favorite topping on a pizza. As long as I ask you know, what's your favorite topping, and you always give me the same answer, like pepperoni, you're still functioning properly. But more than one person can have that same favorite pizza topping. So in here, each input has exactly one output. So now f of 4, okay, our lines actually maybe will help us here. So for an input of 4, we see that we get an output of 3. So again, inside the parentheses is input. So if we input a 2, the output is also 3. And now this is the output. So we want to find where the output is 19. Okay? And we want to know what input numbers give that to us. So we'll put an x here, where x could either be 0 or 6. The next question we're asked for the y-intercept. So again, the y-intercept is always of the form 0, comma y. So we want the output when the input is 0. So that is 19. So our y-intercept is 0, comma 19.